Thank you. I'm Ed Zitko on behalf of Orenaug Mountain Publishing, my wife and fellow managing partner Sandy Carlson, and Woodbury Poet Laureate Katie Baker. Thank you all for coming to this Bards Against Hunger poetry open mic, and thank you to St. Paul's for hosting us tonight. I hope you all noticed the little free pantry in front of the church as you headed in the door tonight. It's why we're here. According to the USDA's most recent report on hunger, 47.4 million people live in food insecure households. 12.2 million adults lived in households with very low food security. 7.2 million children lived in food insecure households. In 2025, a Capital Area Food Bank, University of Chicago, National Opinion Research Center study found that 36% of households experienced food insecurity within the past year. Nearly unchanged from 37% in 2024, but notably higher than the 32% in 2023. Hunger in the U.S. is a result of policy changes, economic hardship, low wages, high living costs, and lack of access to resources. If you grocery shopped in 2025, you know there's less in your cart for $150 than there was last year or the year before, and the packaging is smaller. So this Bards Against Hunger event matters, not just for people in Woodbury, but for people in the Tri-Bury region and beyond. While you may not have seen it, the benefit of that little food pantry, I have, and here's an example in verse. Little free pantry. We wondered one trip to town, my wife and I, as we on a sunny day drove by, about the new cupboard outside the church for those hungry and in the lurch. If it would get used in that obvious place, just feet away from Main Street's busy pace. A few days later, standing in the twilight, there stood a fella, hoodie closed tight. After that, there was an adult with child on a summer's day, sunny and mild. Then in gray sweats, blending in with the fog, an older man, a little thin. Most recently, a driver stopped at the light. And they have diapers, her friend said brightly. When there's a need, there's a need. When a pantry on a busy road can feed your family, you're thankful for the mission. You're thankful for the vision of parishioners on a truly Christian mission. For I was hungry, and you gave me to eat. Again, thank you for being here. Most importantly, thank you for donating to St. Paul's Little Free Pantry. And now on with the show. Here's Woodbury's Poet Laureate, Katie Baker, to get us moving.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you so much if you brought food donations. It is an especially important time, being shortly before Thanksgiving, and also with people being at risk of losing their benefits this year. This is a wonderful thing that we're doing here tonight. So thank you to Reverend Tuesday, thank you to Sandy and Ed so much, and thank you also to Betty Lou for having our great connection with St. Paul's. If you haven't already, please partake in the refreshments we have here tonight. There's some really good food and drinks. And also, just to mention, it is Veterans Day. If you are a veteran, please let us know so we can properly recognize you. All right, for today, technically our theme tonight, though tonight's a little different, our theme is still heritage. So for my poem that's not my poem tonight, I have I Too by Langston Hughes, which you probably have heard, but if you haven't, what a treat. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. What a great poem, love that one. Yeah, that one. And for my personal poems tonight, I have, it's kind of funny, but Doesn't necessarily follow the theme of heritage, but one of my personal favorites of my poems, and to think of dinosaurs as our ancestors, I suppose. It is a heritage poem. This is my acrostic poem in response to the Age of Reptiles at the Yale Peabody Museum, the mural that was made in, I think, 47. It's called Dinosaur Time. Gargantuan angels, the glow of vermilion flame ignited behind piercing eyes, adorned in Godzilla fleshes, like the way precious space dust would wear the story of what stole away this exemplary existence, where crystalline aquamarine skies shone bright down in a Shangri-La and gave life to fiddlehead and moss and mortals with no idols nor gods. There is such religion in the notion. Molten mineral spews, fountains under virgin landscape, 1940s crack of doom. The brave, darling rodent, but a glimpse into an instant, a humble moment in time of hundreds of millions of years, all but the lone trivial mammal stowaway somewhere in the flesh of earth. Land cracks and changes over such long time. After all, the world is already ancient hundreds of millions of years ago. Eras intersected only by looming trees and the passage of time. The painter most certainly closest to the feeling that the onlooker cannot begin to imagine. To share breath with giants on this very same planet that we are planted to as this poem I write. A fleeting moment in time so slight it's as though I can see my fingers turning to space dust. And for my second poem, this one a little more related to my heritage, I suppose. This is a poem about my family home in Maine that I have gone to every year since I was born. My grandparents built it in the early 1950s, and it's a very rural part of Maine, and it's my favorite place. This is my poem 201. This special, no. This sweet, no. This splendid place, yes. Splendid, I would say, this place embodies. So lightly touched by man, it's as though a bell jar has been cupped over the landscape. Traces of prehistory sit in wait in porous bodies of ancient stones. Place of many stars, more that move in the sky now than when I was a girl. When my father would point and say, satellite, or with more enthusiasm, shooting star, and we wouldn't wish on it as all we needed was right there. Loons that soar above and below the water's surface like dipping in and out of a dream, that cry out in the night between water lapping the rocky shoreline. It feels something like heaven when I sleep to the sound. The wind, how it jumps and scatters across the water, the moon waking between mountains, a masterpiece. Fishing spiders hide in the eaves, novels fill the shelves, kerosene lamps sway still above. Everything is just so. All my life, more than lovers or friends, I will adore this place. So merciful is the sun that rides on the ruby throat of hummingbirds and seldom burns, their wings swiftly beating to the rhythm of the gentle wind. Thank you. All right, and now we have our open mic. So I will call you up. And then I will also call up who's next on deck, and you may sit in the chairs here.
On either side, so you don't walk in front of the camera.
Yes, true. Either side. So first up, we got Julie Cook. To follow, Claudia Chapman. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's so good to see everybody. I was looking for poems that would work with heritage, and these have to do with family members. So the first one, I have two. So the first one is called Toward the New Year. After the last leaf has fallen, we move faithfully past pumpkins, turkeys, and glitter to the last day. It's an ordinary day, usually cold, full of bustle for partygoers, quiet for the rest of us. Just as my father passed soundlessly on the 31st day, decades ago, we allow the night to pass, slipping without fanfare into light.
And the next one is about one of my grandparents who lived upstairs, so it's called Grandma Upstairs. Ripe red peppers roast in the oven, filling the kitchen with sweet vegetal aroma. They emerge blackened and blistered, are dropped into paper bags to steam. We cover the table with newspapers and scrape off the skin, cleave soft flesh from seeded core. At her urging, I sample a piece, letting it melt in my mouth, making a memory of this taste, her map-lined face and warm eyes, this enamel table, the melodic song of the mantel clock. She offered pasta fagioli, spaghetti robed in ricotta, plump green olives with crusty bread, and I, a beloved member of the fold, imbibed it all. She has been through the fire of a young husband's death, a sojourn to alien land, the loss of a dear child. Her solemn exterior protects a tender heart, revealed in her simply prepared dishes, piquant and full-bodied, sustaining and faithful. They pass through my hands, through generations of difficulty and joy, claiming us as her own in our radiant matrix of family. Thank you.
I was thinking of heritage, and the first thing that came to mind was New Mexico, where I spent 2 months living at Bandelier National Monument as an artist in residence at the base of the cliff dwellings. This was a childhood dream. I was all alone in this canyon, in a little stone cabin.
Can you speak up a little bit?
I was all alone in the canyon in this little stone cabin. And 3 heritages come together there. First, the ancient Puebloan people who once lived in this canyon, and then later the Hispanic people who celebrated Day of the Dead and cast marigold petals everywhere, and then me, this Anglo lady. November 1st, the eve of All Souls Day. At midnight in Frijoles Canyon, the ancient cliffs glow in the moonlight, whiter than sun-bleached animal bones lying undisturbed behind this well-worn trail. The trail leads us into the wilderness where the bones of the ancestors lie deep within the earth. If their graves are marked at all, it is with symbols I do not recognize, though I'm sure some still remember how to read them. The moon casts white marigold petals along the trail for the ancestors to follow home. The ruins of the cliff dwellings glow in the moonlight as if 100 evening fires still lit this ancestral pueblo. Unlike the scowling faces my ancestors carved into turnips to scare away the spirits, my jack-o'-lantern smiles in the window of my cabin, welcoming those who came before me into the warm, dark cave of my heart. Later that night, on the eve of All Hallows, I was really thinking about, gee, I'm this Anglo lady, that's what they call white people out there. You can also be black and be Anglo, it's just you're not from there. And here I was, blessed to be in this place. That wasn't my home. Yesterday, I offered cornmeal to the spirits of this place. I didn't think they would mind this sign of respect from an old Anglo lady living in the canyon on her own. I would offer the cornmeal to my own people as well, but they never knew Indian corn in Scotland or Sweden or even Ireland until it was sent their door during Angortamor, the Great Hunger, that took so many of their lives and drove the ones who survived onto rickety coffin ships bound for New York City. Tonight, I will leave out a few grains of Scottish oatmeal to lead my ancestors to Frijoles Canyon, if they should choose to find me, far from the canyons of New York where I grew up, and even further from Antrim, Carlisle, Glasgow, Belfast, and Barrow, the homes they knew in life. One short night to make the journey all the way across the North Atlantic and along the Santa Fe Trail to my little cabin in this ancient canyon with only a few grains of oatmeal, a candle in the window, and a prayer to guide their way. And about those people, this is a buffalo dancer. That's the poem. The buffalo dancer stamps his foot in front of me, and I can feel it. That moment of stillness when the dancer shakes his great shaggy head, and for a moment his body is no longer his own, because the buffalo spirit is so great, there is no longer any room for the man. And now, since I've been cautioned to keep it under 5 minutes, I have a couple of tiny things that I call fortune cookies. I imagine little poems that you could stuff in a fortune cookie. At the wedding of dark forest royalty, several of the guests wore Luna moths as fascinators. From time to time, one of the exquisite pale green moths would detach themselves and ascend gently skyward. Fortune cookie. Had I closed my eyes immediately in meditation, I would not have seen the soft mist drifting above the river.
I've been with your group a couple of times at the library. I have memorized poetry for 40 years or so. A lot of Robert Frost, other guys, you know. So I would like to recite Birches tonight, but I came prepared just in case my mind is not up to the par. Right?
It's a long one.
It's a long one, yeah. When I see birches bend to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them, but swinging doesn't bend them down to stay as ice storms do. Often you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after a rain. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many-colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away, you'd think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. There's terrible. They are the Lord, and they seem not to break, though once they're bowed so low for long, they never right themselves. You may see their trunks arching in the woods years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. But I was going to say, when truth broke in with all her matter of fact about the ice storm, I should prefer to have some boy bend them as they went out and in to fetch the cows. Some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. One by one, he subdued his father's trees by climbing them down over and over until he took the stiffness out of them. And not one but hung limp. Not one was left for him to conquer. He did not launching out too soon and so not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. He always kept his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully, with the same pains you use to fill a cup up to the brim and even above the brim. Then he flung outward, feet first with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. So was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. It's when I am weary of considerations and life is too much like a pathless wood where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is tearing from a twig having lashed across it open. I'd like to get away from earth a while, and then come back to it and begin over. May no fate willfully misunderstand me and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. Earth's the right place for love, I don't know where it's likely to go better. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb black branches up a snow-white trunk toward it, till the tree could bear no more and dipped its top and set me down again. That would be good both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches.
Hi, everyone. I have 3 poems for you tonight. The first one was published in my hometown. It was published by Orenaug Mountain Publishing, and it was part of the Connecticut Poetry Society's meeting here in Woodbury on August 2nd. And so all of the people who shared their poems had their poems printed in the Orenaug Poetry, my hometown book. This is my poem. A tiny glimpse of our historical town. Woodbury, where a pantry stands on Main Street in front of St. Paul's. Are you in need of dinner? Do you have cereal for your children? Open the latch and bring it home. Woodbury, where the community services founded by many faiths assist families with a food bank and in times of hardship. Woodbury, where a luncheon was held, raising funds for backpacks filled with supplies for young students. Woodbury, where the senior center provides rides to medical appointments and shopping, and programs to keep minds and bodies aging gracefully. Woodbury, where the 1740 Glebe House lodged the family of John Ruckers Marshall, the first Anglican priest, and where Samuel Seabury was elected the first Episcopal Church bishop, making Woodbury the birthplace of the Episcopal Church. My second poem on this same theme is called The Fairmont Cottage. In 1905, my great-grandparents bought a cottage in the Niantic village of Crescent Beach. And I have a couple of pictures. It's kind of like ekphractic. So this is the cottage, and this is the view from the porch. And Peter's going to pass it around. So have an image in your mind of what it is that I'm talking about.
From the outside, this is what you see from the porch.
So it's titled The Fairmont Cottage. Up a small knoll in the Niantic village of Crescent Beach stands a memory of my childhood, purchased by my great-grandparents. As children, we spent the day in the salt water, wrapped in seaweed, climbing on the slippery, barnacled rocks to catch crabs for fishing. Hungry, we came home, rinsed our feet in the bucket, lunched on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and milk, listening to the screen door slam as we each came to the porch, sitting in the rockers, dripping, waiting impatiently for the required hour to pass before entering the delight of the salty water. We would sometimes scramble over the fishing rocks, calloused feet shielding injury. At day's end, when we had a dime, we would walk sandy and smiling across to Hilliard's snack shop for an ice cream. My last poem tonight hasn't to do with heritage. It was a response to Tuesday's sermon on October 26th. It's called The Mercy Seat. Come, ye all who seek mercy for transgressions against your fellow humans. Receive mercy at the mercy seat. Receive forgiveness. Receive renewal. Receive grace. Bring your tears. Bring your fears. Bring your whole and your broken selves to the mercy seat for replenishment, for renewal, for pardon. Come, unburden your load on the mercy seat, for your Creator's lap is wide. Thank you.
So I'm going to read one poem, but it's a long poem, and it's called Breathe. It's the title poem from an upcoming book about family. So it's in 9 parts. I tell you that in case you're somebody who likes to track. And the last part, section 9, is only 3 lines, so you get a sense of when this is kind of winding down. Breathe, Genesis 2:7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. 1. It starts with the breath, my voice coach tells me. She has been telling me this for decades. She tells me I have a powerful instrument if I would just trust it, but trust is often elusive. 2. Breathe, the doctor repeats. We've known for hours the baby is breech, a day of almost unbearable back labor, and at 20+ hours her right shoulder catches at the pelvic bone. Breathe, the doctor repeats. With each contraction, he reaches his gloved hand into me to push her backwards an inch or 2 until her shoulder snaps free, the release echoing in the room. After 2 sons, she is the daughter I have longed for, the one I do not know yet, who will remind me too often and too much of myself, but in this moment I rejoice. Breathe. Hold her close. 3. Breathe, the guru instructs in that low, slow Middle Eastern voice that is its own seduction, imploring me, each of us, to let go, cut the ties that shackle us to our perceived limitations. Breathe, and I acquiesce. Breathe, and for a moment I am unbound, fully present to the focused inhale, to the breath, to the possible and the impossible. Breathe, and I slip into a daydream. 4. When I hit the kitchen floor, I've prepared as best as I can. In that nanosecond of realization that I cannot stop this body in motion, once I've leaned too far out beyond the edge of the counter, which I should not have been standing on in the first place. I sacrifice my right shoulder to the impact, like bleeding a lamb at the altar. Will suffer the consequences for years, acquiesce at long last to surgery. Breathe, I repeat, in the months of recovery that follow. Breathe into the pain. Repeated like a mantra, sometimes in a dream, sometimes simply in protest or a plea for mercy. Breathe, I repeat, and count. Slow on the intake, hold. Slow on the exhale, hold. Repeat. It would be easy to burden myself with guilt. Of course I deserve this, and not for my dismissal of basic physics, but for all of it, as if a punishment or penance, as if karma, though for what I assure you I do not know, or do I know? And the list of my failings as a human being, as a wife, a mother, daughter, friend, go on for hours, days. No, I mouth to no one. Shake off this momentary self-pity and breathe into the pain. Hold, breathe out, hold, repeat. 5. The human body can go months without food, days without water, mere moments without oxygen. Nonetheless, I hold my breath out of habit, expectantly bracing always for some ill wind while working on a poem, a dance move, a deadlift, a biceps curl, merging into busy traffic, always tentative, though I try to remember. Breathe, the trainer tells me. Are you breathing? My dance teacher asks. Remember to breathe. Breathe, I tell myself over and over.
unsure if it will ever be a simple matter, having learned early in life to hold my breath myself, still as if some measure of assurance against the dark. 6. In dream, the dark figure in shadow is always a man, and I cannot breathe. My chest seizes. I try to pull in sweet air to no avail. Breath will not come. He is remembered, hurts, distilled. He is flesh, bone, though not so. He is a soft, dark, raspy intonation and unbearable heat. He is nothing, yet my body is heavy with the crush of him until I struggle free, wake fitful, panic-stricken, gasping, and breath comes suddenly and sweet. 7. At first, near naked, lying under a layer of clean sheets and blankets, I tried to slow my breathing, shake off the demands of the day, the week, untether myself from the tension that is always there, muscles tight, thoughts flashing like popcorn, each pushing, vying for attention. And when she enters the room, I want to welcome her with a willingness to be healed at her hands, but I am never ready. I am the embodiment of chaos on her table. Sometimes she starts at the feet, sometimes at the neck, pressing thumbs into knots that rebel, but she persists. An hour in, the body, this body, has painstakingly acquiesced. Breath slow, shallow. I slip in and out of daydream or a silent dialogue with myself about letting the healing light of her course through muscle, bone, a fleeting ritual of self-care. Mind and body sufficiently relegated to opposite corners of the room. The body, this body, takes a deep breath from time to time of its own volition, as if it knows what it needs. Breathe, the body tells itself. Breathe deep. And it does. 8. Each morning in my old age, I fling open the drapes, open myself to the world outside, knowing the news of war will bring an ache again today. I cannot shake. Open myself to the morning ritual of bird song, to a light rain or a fog that has settled in overnight, sometimes to a night sky not yet turned, and watch as the sun banishes shadow, a blue sky or gray revealed beyond the trees that crowd the deck. And I breathe it all in, grateful for a comfortable life, for family and friends, grateful for this view, endearing neighbors, for those moments of joy that punctuate the reality that there are those fleeting, their homes under siege, those who will not survive, those struggling or simply trying to get by, to simply live. Even in these dark times, or perhaps because of them, how can I not be thankful? It isn't that I have forgotten any of it, that my heart is not breaking with the news daily of human tragedy. It is that I accept there is only this moment. There is no other. And in this moment, I am whole. I am safe. I am blessed. I am loved. I love. I breathe in the new day before the pending busyness will obscure the view, before another day where the earth and humanity is in crisis and it will threaten to break me. 9. Breathe, the yogi instructs, and for a moment I am unbound. Breathe, and I slip into a daydream. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So I have 2 poems that I wrote on heritage. What's really interesting is that today I looked at the one poem and I totally revised it. And it was so cool to be able to sculpt it better. And then I have 2 other poems. My poems are very short. When I do open mic, I've been told that I need to tell the name of the poem and do it really slowly, so I'm trying to get better. Okay. The first poem is called Heritage. A heritage heard in a remembrance sung of a heart's hymn held within memories preserving, family members now gone, but still dearly, immortally bound. I'm going to move this down a little. Okay. The second poem is the poem that I revised today. Circle Through Seasons is its name. In their heartbeat, his heartbeat, her heartbeat, bears remembrance, mantled, tapping the measured pulse of boundless bonds, heralding a lineage, woven patterns, threading family treasures in passages, word spun, a bridled weave, circled through seasons, honored, upheld. His story, told in the past, in passages, and hers told within the seams sewn of their family's heritage, once known. This poem is called I Call, I Cry. I call, waiting, wanting, a reply. I cry, questioning. Why I try, gripped in fierce despair, bearing the tearing of too many tears shed. And the last poem, so I did Season of the Witch, and this is kind of in that genre, but it's called Night Mistress Masquerade. Hued sky opaqueness, deepened in darkness. In her depth she waits, night's mistress, night's temptress, mistress of stars' masquerade, transforming night's serenade. Comes his calling, awaiting her unveiling, mirroring black sky mystery, magnified in crystal sky magistry. Thank you.
This is called Intimations of Me. On the closest of my heritage, my mother and father. I inherited my mother's fear of the real and my father's need to be recognized. I think that's right. I look at one photograph of them. I look for myself in memories of them, trying to know myself by looking over that distance, so far from them, to me. I have one photograph of them together, handsome, happy, and in love. But they also look posed and self-conscious. The photographer had said, smile. But what did I know about them then? What did I know? From where I am now, they have moved further and further away. I grope for words to grapple, to hook myself to what they were before I was me. My mother was not a good mother. She told me so. I did some bad things, and she said it was her fault. And she was wrong about that. And I left home because they were my faults, and I wanted to keep them. My father was proud of her and wanted to take her places, but she didn't want to go out. My father one day told me that he was not a good husband. Maybe he'd had a drink because he had never talked to me in that way before. He was trying to explain loneliness. It took me a long time to understand, but then it just scared me. And so I left them both behind the rest of my life. Of course, sometimes they came back as guests for visits, but the distance between us never shortened. I can't remember if anyone ever said goodbye after those visits. No matter. They weren't sentimental, and neither am I. It is undeniable that I am like my parents, There's always something there. But they, unlike me, they were proud of themselves, in spite of all their mistakes. Not vain or superior, just proud people. It shows in their photograph. Smiling, happy, so far away. I look at them, the way they are in their photograph. I look at them for intimations of me. One more short one. This has to do with my grandmother, who, it's a very short poem. I lived with my grandmother when I was, and my grandfather actually, when I was a child, because my mother had a nervous breakdown. So I got very close to my grandmother. And she's very, very different from my mother. My grandmother was very practical and completely unsentimental. When I was in college, I would hitchhike up to New England to work in hotels and things, and I would always stop by in New Jersey to see my grandmother, whose solution for any problem was a good night's sleep and oatmeal in the morning. So I just wanted to give you that background on who she was. It had probably been close to 7 years or so since I had seen her when I learned that she had died. And there was a description of her house, of her when they found her, that really hit me hard. And I wrote this poem back in 2003. And it's just called, I Want to Die. I want to die like my grandmother did, deliberately, in a clean house, in nice pajamas, late afternoon, nobody home.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Susan. I have two pieces today. The first is a piece I was asked to read by a friend, and after reading it, she said that it evoked for her the cultures and rituals of Samhain in Ireland, which marks the end of the harvest and the beginning of the darker half of the year. Also, Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, and Dia de los Difuntos, or All Souls Day in Ecuador. All of these were much larger concepts than what I had in my head. I recently read an article about a mother's loss of her daughter, and she says that one of the most difficult things about her grief was comprehending how someone can die in the millisecond pause between one heartbeat and the next. I felt that was a powerful statement, and it brought me to this. So I call this the pulse. Heartbeat pulses, ebbs and pulses again. What makes up the time and space in the pause between? Everything exists, is possible in the liminal realm. It is all time, all space. Spirit is ageless, present everywhere, filling infinity, even when the next pulse does not come. So my second piece is called The Recipe, and it references the picture next to me. Put together flour and baking soda. Don't forget salt. Now use a fork to cut in butter, then raisins, a generous measure and a bit more. Beaten eggs remain floating on dry ingredients until mixed in with a wooden spoon. Add enough buttermilk to make a dough. Not all of it, only as much as is needed or the bread will be dense. Be mindful, humidity of the day adds moisture to the flour. Gently roll dough on a floured board until all stickiness is gone. Do not knead. Work quickly to get into the oven. Buttermilk and baking soda have already begun the leavening process. Be sure to cut a cross on top of the dough ball to give an opening for fairies to fly out. Once in the oven, spicy aroma fills the room, but only if you have added the most distinctive ingredient, caraway. There are those who have no love for this anise-like seed used in other recipes and other cultures. It has a sharp, earthy, peppery flavor. But this pungency, with the texture of the buttermilk-based bread and raisins, creates a depth of flavor for the soda bread. Add caraway for sure, a generous measure and a bit more. The recipe I use is not a published one. Mom had several versions, some cut from newspapers, some in cookbooks, one in Aunt Gladys's cursive, her stepmother, a prolific baker. I tested them all, each had a different result, from cake-like to very dense. None were satisfactory. I set about researching quick breads of the soda variety, using the library and Mom's sustained, well-worn joy of cooking. This bread was meant to be eaten with stew, providing a steadfast complementary flavor and with enough heft and texture to sop up a meaty sauce. I combined various recipes, left out sugar, reduced the eggs, managed the amount of buttermilk, but always with raisins and caraway. My father relished the aroma while it was baking. It wafted through the house, finding every corner. His expression would be eager with anticipation. Freshly warm from the oven, slathered with butter, Dad would float to the clouds. When his father had his taste, he pronounced that this was just like the soda banger his mother used to make over the peat fire in the old country. The recipe received no further revisions. To my mind, with this high praise, this was official Irish soda bread. Mom, a talented artist, rendered a watercolor painting centered on the recipe. The disease had begun to take some small pieces of her, but yet she created. She painted on the page, gently rolling hills and gradations of green, thatch-roofed cottages with thick peat smoke wisping from chimneys, 2 sheep grazing in the dales. It will forever be in my kitchen, gently calling to mind her affection, my father's boy-like anticipation, my grandfather's old country memories, all connected by the savory bouquet of caraway.
Hi, everybody. Hi. So, the Orenaug Poetry Group, we meet on the second Saturday of the month, about 9:15. We're kind of itinerant. St. Paul's has been very generous in allowing us space. Sometimes we meet at another member's house or at my home. So if you ever want to join us, we're a nice bunch of people. It's a poetry group. It's not some hardcore critique group. We are not the Red Pen Brigade, but people supportive friends who support each other's poetry by basically saying what we like about it, how it resonates with us, and
Nice.
we all magically find our way to the corrections we need to make. And Orenaug Mountain Publishing, I just want to mention this, kind of came out of my poet laureateship here in Woodbury. Marla Martin and I kind of came up with this idea. We do ekphrastic poetry about the amazing art that's in the gallery every month. And we were prolific, and we had this amazing compilation and no money to print it because we needed to print in color. So what are we gonna do, right? We were stuck, and then Ed figured out how to make that happen through self-publishing, and we were able to create a collection that honored the artists and the poets in this community. And that felt pretty good, so we kind of kept going with it, and we like to create collections that honor authentic voices of good people without all the rigmarole of
Rigmarole.
let's just say without rigmarole, leave it at that. So if you have any interest or you have a collection, we're happy to talk to you at any time. I'm going to read a poem called The Troubadour Invites You. It's a poem I wrote this summer. So rerun for Mike, go back there, because I read it at the summer festival in Danbury, which was the town I grew up in after my first 5 years in Bethel. And it's an ekphrastic poem that celebrates the murals that are in the old Danbury Library, which is the current Danbury Music Center. And The children's department is the first floor, and the whole first floor is murals by a man named Charles Augustus Federer, who lived in Bethel, and he was able to do this work because once upon a time the United States of America had a visionary president named Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who put artists to work during our difficult economic times and absolutely decorated our country with amazing works. And this has a work that has a real Winslow Harper vibe, all that sort of sumptuous splendor of childhood stories. And I had a moment when I was working on this. My mom grew up in Darien, but her uncles moved with their families to Danbury after the war and built homes in what was the wilderness of Danbury way back then. And my Aunt Ruth would take my mom down to the Danbury Public Library. Her big treat was to come down Clebard Ridge, go to the public library, get some books, and go back to her aunt's house and be the celebrated little girl who would spread a blanket under the tree and read these books. And it dawned on me, this was where my mother got her books. So it was stunning, and I had a moment where I'm standing there thinking, this is where my mom stood as a little girl, and my stories meant so much to her. This is called The Troubadour Invites You. The troubadour opens himself to the muses, channels every story across time and place through his soul, and claims his voice to tell dreams to children whose wide open eyes take in the dream of Robin Hood, fending for friends in need without thought of personal cost. The troubadour's tunic and leggings are the medieval heroes. Brothers are the same man, able and willing to fight for the well-being and rights of the least of these, and to set the story to music with his own hand on Apollo's lute. Clouds swirl, the dream thickens. From the cool cumulus cauldron emerge another time and place. Indians watching from behind a tree, and we wonder with them about the changes to come. What will happen to Earth Spirit as arrows are defeated by the lead of muskets? These images inform childhood lessons of the first Thanksgiving and school feasts of popcorn and apples, construction paper bonnets and paper feather headdresses. There is a longed-for story of peace in this gathering at the table, one our fathers and mothers, silent in their solitary souls, wished were true. Welcome, children, to your free public library, where you are free to dream and imagine and discover yourself, the darkness and the light that stir your heart and mind. The more perfect union begins in your soul, where stories are born and you have a right and a role. Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. This is called Victory by Sherman Alexie, who is a Native American poet. When I was 12, I shoplifted a pair of basketball shoes. We could not afford them otherwise. When I tied them on, I found that I couldn't hit a shot. When the ball clanked off the rim, I felt only guilt, guilt, guilt. Oh, immoral shoes. Oh, kicks made of paranoia and rue. Distraught but unwilling to get caught or confess, I threw those cursed Nikes into the river and hoped that was good enough for God. I played that season in supermarket tennis shoes that felt the same as playing in bare feet. Oh, torn skin. Oh, bloody heels and toes. Oh, twisted ankles. Oh, blisters the size of dimes and quarters. Finally, after I couldn't take the pain anymore, I told my father what I had done. He wasn't angry. He wept out of shame. Then he cradled and rocked me and called me his little basketball Jesus. He told me that every cry of pain was part of the hoops sonata. Then he laughed and bandaged my wounds, my Indian boy, poverty, basketball, stigmata. And then this is a silly poem by Spike Milligan. It's really the title of a silly poem. Said Hamlet to Ophelia, I'll draw a sketch of thee. What kind of pencil shall I use?
To be or not to be?
To be or not.
I'm not a poet, but I really enjoy words, and so I have two poems for you. One is one that celebrates love of words, and the other one is just my favorite poem that's just sort of always in the back of my mind somewhere. So this is called Sweater Weather, A Love Song to Language by Sharon Bryan. Never better, mad as a hatter, right as rain, might and main, hanky-panky, hot toddy. Hoity-toity, cold shoulder, bowled over, rolling in clover, low blow, no soap, hope against hope, pay the piper. Liar, liar, pants on fire, high and dry, shoot fly pie. Fiddle faddle, fit as a fiddle, sultan of swat, muskrat ramble, fat and sassy. Flim flam, happy as a clam, cat's pajamas, bee's knees, peas in a pod, pleased as punch, pretty as a picture, nothing much. Lift the hatch, double dutch, helter skelter, hurdy-gurdy, early bird, feathered friend, dumb cluck, buck up, shilly-shally, willy-nilly. Roly-poly, holy moly! Loose lips sink ships, spitting image, nip in the air, hale and hearty, part and parcel. Upsy-daisy, lazy days, maybe baby, up to snuff. Flibber-to-gibbet, honky-tonk, spick and span, handyman, cool as a cucumber, blue moon. High as a kite, night and noon. Love me or leave me, seventh heaven, up and about, over and out.
Nice.
This is my favorite poem. It's by Anne Sexton. It's called Courage. And in the theme of heritage, all I can say is that Anne Sexton's birthday is on November 9th, which was Sunday. So a way to keep someone alive is to read their words. And here she is right here in the room with us. Mm-hmm. It is in the small things we see it. The child's first step, as awesome as an earthquake. The first time you rode a bike wallowing up the sidewalk. The first spanking when your heart went on a journey all alone. When they called you crybaby or poor or fatty or crazy and made you into an alien. You drank their acid and concealed it. Later, if you faced the death of bombs and bullets, you did not do it with a banner. You did it with only a hat to cover your heart. You did not fondle the weakness inside you, though it was there. Your courage was a small coal that you kept swallowing. If your buddy saved you, and died himself in so doing, then his courage was not courage. It was love, love as simple as shaving soap. Later, if you have endured a great despair, then you did it alone. Getting a transfusion from the fire, picking the scabs off your heart, then wringing it out like a sock. Next, my kinsman, you powdered your sorrow. You gave it a back rub, and then you covered it with a blanket. And after it had slept a while, it woke to the wings of the roses and was transformed. Later, when you face old age and its natural conclusion, your courage will still be shown in the little ways. Each spring will be a sword you'll sharpen. Those you love will live in a fever of love. And you'll bargain with the calendar. And at the last moment, when death opens the back door, you'll put on your carpet slippers and stride out.
All right, hello everybody. My caffeine is wearing off, so I am going through it. But for those of you who do not know me, again, my name is Bailey Quinn. I am Middlebury, Connecticut's first poet laureate, so nearby neighbor. And I'm very happy to be here. I've been wanting to go to more events in Woodbury, and I'm very glad to join you guys at this, especially for a special event like this. And there we are. So I have a piece called Parting Gifts / Peace Offering. I've never performed it. It's still technically a piece that I edit, go back to, but I'm trying to perform more works in progress. I promise I'm trying. I talk very quietly. Parting Gifts, Peace Offering. My cousin offers me some of our deceased grandmother's jewelry, saying it's not worth anything, but she could pick out some cute pieces for me. And I wonder if this is something new. Her love heavy on our tongues, our recollections curdled upon Genesis, her Midwestern winds shaping her memories, my cousin's memories, far more kindly than the northeastern breezes of my upbringing. I wonder if she hopes to do better than they did. When she offers a variety of rings, I think of the pizza rolls. Her hands, my grandmother's hands, holding them over with my cousins, a dance I was not welcome to learn, only observe and report back to the world about my findings. An outsider's take on a family secret born from heat waves on the lake and snowfall on the mountains way out there while I was out here. They reminisce about their infant hands digging into the sugar as they swat at my fingers, their hands forever larger than mine, the muscle memory of creation, a hereditary trait traced in their palms that I spent hours searching for in my own to no avail. As she describes a necklace, I think of our grandmother's pin curls, how they stood proud as she bragged that she was a fast reader. And when I peered over her shoulder and read along, her arm was warm as it wrapped around me, and we laughed as the pages slipped by and we devoured it together. When my cousin mentions a pin or a brooch left over, I am reminded that I get the pick of the scraps. An eldest child descended from the youngest and therefore one of the youngest cousins. I am reminded of how often I was told my choices shaped what my brothers received, and so I learned to think of my decisions in terms of what would they gain or lose. I wonder if this is something my parents learned or created. I am, admittedly, grateful to be offered any piece of her, though I cannot recall whether she preferred silver or gold, or the shape of her glasses, or her favorite color. So I tell my cousin, yes please, and send her my address. I extend a hand out, the blue bubble on my screen brilliant and blunt in its eagerness for a chance to know her fully. Once again a child, barely able to peer over a countertop, coughing as the flour clouds up and settles, the dust dispersing to reveal my grandmother and her granddaughters, laughing and whispering with stories I cannot know, no matter how fast I can read. Then I remember that my cousin is the youngest of an eldest given everything. To them, if we gain anything, they will always lose everything. This is an old story that my grandmother has chosen for us to live. And as my cousin's memories of her sweeten with each day that my mailbox remains undisturbed, I find my memories have soured and my pages have stilled. But the flower has never truly settled. No, I can still see their silhouettes through it, their hands interwoven on the table, molding three shadows into one. Thank you. This is not heritage. Sorry to break from it. You can pull the shepherd's hook from the side to get me off. It's called Name the Feeling. It's largely more about the writing experience and trying to pull a story out of sometimes the very innards of yourself. And it's broken up into 3 parts. So this is Name the Feeling. 1. I clamp down on this moment, knuckles white as I reach into my chest and crack it open, reaching for what hides in its porcelain cavern. Hands slick, voice thick, I peer down where blood should be, where my heart should be, where my poems still linger. Aorta light pools out of my chest, its shifting colors indecipherable on the wooden floors, shimmering and burning in a cage of fragmented fine china, no flesh to conceal the sensations that run through me. I pull my hands out and I am drenched in it. It is impossible not to feel awe as my fingertips quiver, the brilliance flung from my trembling hands, sending sunshine spinning across the walls as if a disco ball had been punted skyward. The sound it makes is not unsimilar, akin to glass droplets smashing on the floor, a child's hands tinkling on white piano keys after only a few lessons, a clamor clanging on the poor hammers in a beast of a Steinway forged centuries before their birth. The spectacular reckoning of something new beginning is rarely quiet or easy on the ears. And yet I have been caught off guard. It would appear my bones had been fed to the earth, removed, licked clean, and returned without me ever losing my shape, without me ever noticing the difference, and all that was left was this extraordinary mess. And I was not surprised or hurt or angry. I was, in fact, tickled. I couldn't be mad at the hands that had robbed me. They were new to this unmaking too. There is no blood, and yet my hands are stained red, as though the instant I reached in a fresh coat of paint was disturbed, transferring clean from inner walls to lines and palms, outlining childhood calluses worn from tight grips on monkey bars and my mother's hand. All that remains is this light trapped between slick white bars, jagged and dripping. The rich red remnants of a body I do not remember trickle down, crooked outlines of fingers and memories, their landing softened by sunbeams on wooden floors. I watch as the puddle gets bigger, the splatter glimmering in the morning light. 3. I swear I can hear them laughing, light meeting light, inner worlds spilling out into the glimmers of a new day, the dripping, a whisper between young girls at a sleepover, pretending to be teenagers, to be old enough to have secrets to keep. Somewhere out there is a patch of grass regaining its bearings, above a twice-filled hole, where the worms are starving and wondering where my bones have gone. Somewhere out there, there's a spill in my kitchen, a red stain, growing dark enough for me to see myself in it, and a moment in time that will never tug free from my grasp, though it grows weaker with each drip. Thank you.
I also lead a poetry workshop in Bethel, the second Saturday of the month. Unfortunately competes with Sandy's, though I feel kind of awkward talking about it, but anyone interested, we just read our poetry and share constructive, supportive comments and stuff like that. So it's a fun group, but second Saturday of the month at Bethel Public Library. So this first poem is in the spirit of this meeting about helping. It's called The Great Mamadou. Mamadou Gassama is a migrant from Mali who rescued a 4-year-old boy hanging from a 4th-floor terrace in Paris a few years ago. Mamadou, how'd you do what you did to save that kid? Mamadou, it was you who risked it all so the boy wouldn't fall. No thoughts of glory, you scaled 4 stories and pulled him in. Words can't begin to praise your heart, which from the start knew what to do. Oh, great Mamadou. The second one is in the theme of food, since I'm kind of bringing food here, so I thought I'd read this one. It's called The Price of Eggs. They say this is all because eggs cost too much, but it's more than that. Many expected their eggs over easy, or sunny side up, or a fine cheese omelet, or Easter eggs filled with chocolate. Some had illusions of Fabergé riches. But instead, the eggs are hard-boiled, or scrambled into submission, or poached without permission, or basted with buttery promises, or deviled with peppery praise, or pickled with acidic intent. Others just fall like Humpty Dumpty. It's a high price to pay. So this last one, I read this the other day in Southbury. People seem to like it. It's about the Beatles, my favorite band. The greatest band that ever was or ever will be. Anyway, it's called Reunion. I have this dream fantasy in which John isn't shot and the Beatles hold a reunion concert in some gargantuan venue. At the end of the show, they lock arms and bow, bathed in love, just like yesterday. All the money raised is used to feed the hungry and treat the sick all over the world. Imagine. Thank you.
I have
to follow up with Spike Milligan, the comedic genius that spawned everything going on up to, Monty Python and all that. We grew up with Spike Milligan, and I have one in my head. It's hard to get them out of your head if you got a Spike Milligan stuck in there. Even 20, 40 years later, when you first read the darn thing, Anyway, he is a comedic genius of all kinds from the 50s onwards. Anyway, see if I can remember it. Said baby turn to mummy turn, can I have a brother? Said mummy turn to baby turn, yes, one good turn deserves another. You beat her up to me. Two poems about love. This one, I'm sure I read it last year. I like to read it once a year around Thanksgiving. And this version is called Grounded in Love. When a family gathers together in any kind of weather, be it sunshine, snow, or pouring rain, even if some of its members are suffering emotional pain, then it's a family that's grounded in love. When a family shows its caring with truly heartfelt sharing of encouragement, time, or advice, even if some of its members are enduring misfortune in their life, then it's a family that's grounded in love. When a family unites as one, celebrating harmony and devotion at Christmas, Easter, or Thanksgiving, even if some of its members are troubled by the daily tasks of living, then it's a family that's grounded in love. And beyond all that which family means, beyond all its hopes and fears and dreams, for its children, spouses, and parents too, are these truths we hold supreme. That the joy in doing what we want to do, and the freedom to be who we want to be, and the help in facing what we need to see, are born in the heart of each one of us here, are nurtured in gratitude all through the year, and grow strong in a family that's grounded in love.
Beautiful.
And see if I can remember, I had a little haiku. Open up your heart until the love it gives is unconditional.
Thank you everyone so much for reading your work. It was awesome and splendid. Thank you so much.
My people, Langston Hughes. The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people. Thank you, beautiful people, for your efforts tonight.